So today we're going to learn how to trim an orthodontic model. All right, we've taken our molds, we've poured them up, and now we've got them in our bases. We're going to take them out of our bases. And it's always nice when you do an orthodontic model that you have a little bit of an extra lip, easier to grab onto when you're trimming, easier to take out of your mold. So we'll pop both of those out. Now it's also a good idea to have a little bit of water. Yes, it's really stuck there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little thing, bucket, and we're just going to put them in there and just let them soak for just a few seconds, and then we'll get going. All right, so we'll get that running. Over here we've got our grinder. There's a couple tools. This is your angle decider. You'll go in like this with that. We can adjust our angles. We'll discuss that later on as well. This is going to help us with paralleling and getting our bases leveled off. So that's it. I'm going to shut the water off and we'll turn the grinder on. So what I usually do with each model is I take off the back heel. I do that is so that when we go to use our wax bite, that's not going to interfere with anything that's going on there. Okay, so we've done the top one, now let's do the bottom one. The other thing that you'll want to do is basically look on the top of the model. There's a little bubble there. Pick it off unless you know that it is actually part of the anatomy of your tooth. All right? And again, that's just basically to make sure that you're not going to interfere with your bite with the wax. So I'm going to grab the top one. We're going to do the same thing with that as well. This one actually looks pretty good. A little bit right there. Good. All right. Now the next step we want to do is we want to level off the top. All right. So we're going to take this, we're going to put it in here. With this extra part I was telling you about, you can actually grab hold of that and put the whole occlusal bite plane onto the little pad, and you just hold tight and just slowly push in. Definitely want to watch your fingers with this one. So you've got it. The easiest way to check if you've got it level is to go down and hold it like this and then just look at the level to see what you've got. And that actually looks pretty good. The other way you want to check it is this way, and you want to make sure that you've got it this way as well. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now, there's a little bit left at the back here, and I'm not going to worry about that right away. You can take it off if you want, but I want to make sure that I've got enough of my bases that I'm not going to run into trouble. So the next step we want to do is I'm just going to get a pencil. And we're going to mark the palatal suture line. So it starts up there and runs down. So now we want that perpendicular. So what I usually do is I eyeball it when I'm coming in. All right, so that's a start for that. Now what I'm going to do to make sure, sometimes I don't trust the eyeball, so I look, and you can see that we don't have it yet. So to get it there, I need to just trim off that corner a little bit. All right, so I'm going to go back to the grinder And we're just gonna take off a little bit more. And then again, we'll check this. And I'm gonna do a little bit more. We still don't have it exactly where it needs to be. Okay, that's pretty close. I'm just gonna run it under in the water again, just so it's nice and easier to look. All right, so you see what I'm talking about, where that line is level with that line. Okay, so that's basically what we want to have, is that those lines are parallel. All right, so that's good. We've got that. Let's throw that in here. Now, this is where the wax bite comes in. So we're going to take the upper model, and we've got our wax bite, and then we're going to take the bottom, and we'll just get that locked together. All right, so there we go. Now, you can see we've got extra here. Now, you can push away and figure out what you want to do, but I've found the easiest way is to take my pencil and just score the back of that. Because we know this is perpendicular, we can lay that there, and when we go in to grind, I can tell that this side needs a bit more, so I'm going to give a bit more pressure here. Okay. And you'll know you're done when all your scribing is done. Now we're really close. There. So now we know that that's leveled off. I'm just going to rinse this again. Now, just to make sure that there's no tipping or anything, let's just set it on the table. And when you push that together, there should be no real flex moving around there. It should be solid, and it is. So that's good. Now, the only thing we have left to do, let's put the wax bite in again so we don't do anything to that. And now we want to make sure that this is parallel with the top. So again, we'll use this bottom and we'll push up against there, and again I'm going to hold there tight, and we're going to slide in. Now, when you're doing an orthodontic model, they want it trimmed to 70. All right, so I don't know if you can see that, but that's where you want to trim. So that little line should be at the 70. So when I'm doing this, you kind of keep an eye on that, but you also want to make sure that the top and the bottom are about the same distance. All right, so my top is actually a little bit bigger, so I'm going to flip it around, and it shouldn't matter which way you go now because they're parallel with each other. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to take down some of that. Now we're at 75, so we've got about 5 more millimeters to go. So when I look at that, we're getting pretty close now. As you can see, now I've basically taken off that edge. I've got a little tiny bit there, but that's no big deal. And that's all leveled off. I'm going to take and I'm going to flip it around once more, and I should be able to finish off the front here, or the bottom. Okay, I've probably got about 2 millimeters left. So you take one more look at it. I think I might take off a little bit more on the top, so I'm just gonna, and this is all basically by looking at it with your eye. Okay, we're at 70 now, so that's good. So there's our model at the basically first stage of things. All right, so now what we want to do is I'm going to again throw them back in the water, and we really don't need the wax bite anymore. We're kind of done with that. So now what we need to do is we need to put our models, or our angles into the models. So take the model on the bottom. You'll do 115 on the heels, 55 on the sides, and then on the bottom we'll just do a curve across the top. So again, back to this guy. Turn it on here. I want to go to 55. So I just get my measure here. So 55 is there. And all we're gonna do is push in, and we wanna go to the bottom of the labial vestibule, all right? So let's go. All right. Now, if you're not sure exactly, stay out a little bit further than you need to, all right? So that you're not ending up cutting the teeth. With a nice curvature of this one, it's not as hard, but when you start having teeth that are in and out, you really have to watch that, okay? So I'm gonna take it a little bit more. So that's about where you wanna be, all right? So right in there, right at the bottom. Now, I want the other 55, and you want them to basically be about the same distance away. So there we are at 55 again, and we'll just push in. Close, stop, and then basically take a look straight on and decide if there's something that one side is a little bit more than the other. And when I look at this, this side might be a little bit more, so we'll just touch it once more. That's pretty good. So next step, let's put it in our heels. So that's at 115. So 115 degrees, let's set our gauge for this and just push in. And you don't want to, you want to watch again that you've got to do it on both sides. So if you've got a tooth that's out a ways, just make sure that when you trim that you do the one that probably is going to have the most difficulty. So I've got my heel there. Now, what I've done is I tend to measure. So when I measure this one, it's saying I'm at 16 millimeters. So what I can do is, in my head, I know approximately what that is. So buzz in, that should be close. Yeah, we're at 14, so we'll just do a little bit more. There we are at 16. So we're starting to get some symmetry at the back here now. What we have to do now is that curvature across the front. So it runs from cuspid to cuspid, and it's just basically eyeball. Everybody likes them a little bit different. We usually try and follow the same curvature as the teeth. All right, so we'll just kind of go straight in and then rock it. And again, you want to make sure you're symmetric. So let's measure this. So we're at 39 and a half. On this side, we are at 40. So let me just take a little bit more off of here. Yeah. So there we are. Bottom's all done. All right, so let's give it a rinse. And there we go. Now, the second stage is finishing it, and we'll be picking off some of the little bubbles and stuff that are around there. Let's do the top one. So on the top one, we do the 115 with our corners, then we do 60, and then we do 30. So a few more little cuts to it and stuff. Let's start with the 60. Same with this one. You want to go to the bottom of the vestibule, so I'm right in there right now. And then we'll go to the other side. And again, look straight on. See if there's one side that's a little bit more than the other. Tends to be just the way this arch is. It's a little bit more here, but I think I'm going to take a bit more of it down in. So again, look straight on. It looks pretty good now. See that there? And then what I want to do is I want to do my 115s and save the front for the last. Good. And again, just kind of watch your heels. I think I might do the other one first, just because of the way it's sitting. Again, watch your molars. Make sure that they're not going to be chewed off. And again, I'm just going to measure this to see what I've got to do. So this one's at 16. Not 16 and a half. So let's flip back and we'll just do a touch more on this side. Good. Now let's do 30. So we'll get it set up for 30. And we'll run in one side. When I run in, I usually go till I get to the freedom muscle, and then I stop. And then let's do the other side. All right, again, those need to be even. I'm going to bring it in a bit more, but it's got you started with that. You want to make sure, especially if you've got laterals that are coming out a little bit, that you don't grind them off. All right, let's measure those. So 26 and 24. Those numbers are going to vary always with every mouth. That point should come very close to where your center line should be. So there we're at 25, and there we're at 25 and a half. Let me just run, like, sneeze on it once more. Make sure that will go in. Yep. So there we go. There's the top one all finished. And again, we'll trim those off when we go to finish the model up for viewing for the patient. So let's just again rinse them off. And there is a nicely trimmed orthodontic model. Thanks for watching.